Hello, my name is Bob Achgill, and I'm living in Texas now, but I've lived a number of years in Eastern Europe as well as in the Middle East, total of 20 years. Um, my hobby has been for the last 25 years of what I'm going to share with you today. Um, I'm also looking forward to what y'all had to share at this conference, and I hope that we can all uh, fill our backpacks with things to take with us to help with literacy in the world. All right, let's get started. I'm going to share with you about the His Hands Reader tool today. It's a mother tongue literacy tool that's beginning to be used in many different countries, different languages. The challenge before the His Hands Reader project is to be able to reach all 7,000 languages in this 1 year. I'll tell you how that's possible. Uh, we hope that we'll be able to provide curriculum for every child, respective of what their specific needs are, as far as the mother tongue, their local business language, and English, and to be able to help include the deaf as well. And just to go back in memory lane, we've been using the chalkboard and phonics in the past, and kind of a focus on English and the business language, but the deaf has not really been on the radar as far as helping them to learn to read. I mean, in small cases, but the projects are just so great, and the needs are so great on the spoken languages that somehow they just don't get included. As of late, people have been trying to wonder how to use this computer thing to be able to help with literacy. Um, still people are focused on phonics, making curriculums, but there's a lot more focus on mother tongue now, the first nation languages. But inclusion of the deaf is still not quite there. What I want to share with you today is an idea to a concept of how to put inclusion first and really ramp up the use of the personal family cell phones around the world, and to be able to teach each child all three of their most needed languages: English, their mother tongue, and the business language. I'm not sure if phonics is going to be in there in this mix, but this is just one tool. It's not an all end all. All right, so how we're going to do that to reach all 7,000 languages in 1 year? Go back into a page in history about 120 years ago. There's a man that built a car that took a year for him to build. And then after he built it, he put it on something called an assembly line. And he started using this concept called the law of interchangeable parts. And though it took him 1 year to build the car by hand, when he used these two technologies that I just mentioned, he began to be able to build cars in 1 day. And within 20 years of manufacturing, using that process, he got it down to a car per minute. Kind of amazing. So what have we been doing in this last 120 years? We started with the car, and then the airplane, and we've landed on the moon. But still 100 years, 120 years later, literacy, are we using that same technology to scale up production of mother tongue curriculums. The scaling issues have been pretty insurmountable. The issues with budgets and producing one-off curriculums by hand, the need for native speakers as teachers. The teachers learn in the big cities, in the colleges, and then it's difficult to go back home to the village and to be a teacher. So how to do this to scale up? You can notice in this screen picture at the bottom, there's a world of languages. To be still reached with literacy. So let me just take a short slide here to mention about the needs of the deaf. There are, as I can estimate, 50 million deaf in the world who are living in developing countries. 1 million of those probably live within close proximity of a deaf school, a school for the deaf, where they've been able to learn the local hand signs and learn how to speak a language. The rest of the 49 million have grown up and not had any language. Their families have had to cobble together hand signs, but it's not really been a language. So the idea with the His Hands Reader project is to reach those 49 million with the beginnings of language, to give them access to the local hand signs of their country. The way to do that is to use the hearing children in their family to reach them first with mother tongue literacy, and then have those children turn to their deaf brother or sister and teach them the hand signs. And then once they start growing a little bit more, they'll be able to also use the same tool to learn to read. So the four points of the strategy is to use the law of interchangeable parts in assembly line, and to use a world of volunteers to put in their language, their mother tongue, or their hand signs if they're deaf, using a standard lexicon. Getting back to that idea of an interchangeable part, if we use the same base lexicon, then the tools can all be built to interchange with one another. Then to use the smartphones that the families have, and the child will be able to learn and self-teach themselves using the standard lexicon. Then that hearing child will be able to turn to the deaf brother, sibling, sister, and teach them hand signs. So the process flow kind of looks like this. It starts off with have a world of languages. We use volunteers to spend the 30 hours to add their language using an Android app. They pass that language back to me, and I run a program that then assimilates it into a curriculum. Think of that beauty of it being an interchangeable part. Now, in an assembly line fashion, we're starting to be able to crank out curriculums. Then using the internet, that's distributed through a peer-to-peer network to the end users. And now the children are using it, and the hearing child can then teach the deaf child as as the hearing child is learning English and their local business language and how to read their mother tongue, they're seeing the hand signs also on the screen. So then they can teach the deaf child a vernacular, a vocabulary of words and hand signs that are common to their nation. Here's a demo of what the reader looks like.
About. Environ.
Cerca de.
So the words are being spoken in by the native speaker, English, in this case French in the lower left, and Spanish in the lower right. And the hand signs are the native hand signs to Cameroon. And now for the reading primers. The child goes down and selects the reading primer. We're using the same lexicon as the Easy English Bible produced by the UK Wycliffe Associates. So as the child's learning to read the 1,700 words in the lexicon, those are the same words that are used to be able to read the whole Easy English Bible. So in short order, matter of months, a child being self-taught, they'll have access to learn to read the whole Easy English Bible. The tool then has a report that beams up the data of what videos children are watching at an aggregate level, not at the personal level, by city, and by country, and by language tool. So the teacher can see for their city what's the level of engagement of using this tool. These are the languages that were had so far put in and the hand signs. Hats off to the volunteers that have been on this journey as I've been developing the tool set. They've had to be patient with me, but now thanks to that their patience, and we've been able to fine-tune all the tooling. So now it's ready for scale up. We're going to be meeting in the Oxford University area. I have a favorite author, C.S. Lewis, that attended Oxford. I just want to share and leave with you a quote from an American author. Goodness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see, by Mark Twain. So I really hope that you'll be able to join our volunteers, a growing list of volunteers, to add your language to His Hand Reader. Thank you. Welcome to His Hand Reader. Imagine a day when every deaf person in the world will be able to learn to read, regardless of where they're born. Imagine a world where even in the remotest place in the world that the deaf person has equal access to learning to read as the hearing person. Imagine a world where there's not 1 billion people without literacy and where there's 50 million people who are deaf who have equal access to the hearing schoolroom. The His Hands Reader videos will also help in disaster and conflict zones. When the children don't have a chance to go to school, school can come home to them. The family smartphone will turn into being the literacy tool for the children and parents. You know, the His Hands Reader is all about you, the volunteers.
HR is important because it helps us to promote our language in universal platform by the help of HHR, so that this community can be benefited.
Now, this program is a baby. It has a long way to go and a lot of things to do. It especially needs a lot of volunteers to work hard together. No matter where you are, who you are, and how old you are, you can be a volunteer and push this program ahead.